Hello, Nikki Brooker. Where are you hailing from?
I am in the southeast of England in the UK.
Okay. And you said it's very hot there. I mean, how hot is it?
Today's a bit cooler than it was. I'd have to look at it's just
Oh.
like unusually, well, climate change. Um, bec- it's not what our houses are built for because our houses are built to retain the heat. So it's
Right.
currently, it says it's 22 outside. And
Celsius.
let's
Okay.
look at the humidity. It's like 72% humidity.
Okay. All right.
And that's like the bit that makes it worse. And we don't have aircon in our buildings. And like it's not a thing. Our like energy grid wouldn't cope with it. But because we're historically a cold island, like
Okay.
our buildings are built with bricks that retain the heat and we have like double glazed windows. So our buildings get really hot inside. They're
And
not
you said
designed
there's
for
no air conditioning. Is it because you're older buildings and
It wouldn't, it's not, yeah, it's like older buildings, it's infrequent, like it's only been the last few years that we've had these, levels of extreme heat. Supermarkets have aircon, like, but typically homes don't have aircon, and it's not really practical for people to have aircon as well because of the cost of running that aircon. Everyone's living in like poverty because of Brexit. The energy grid wouldn't cope with
oh
us
my
having, I don't think.
goodness.
So it's not, it's that I actually believe it's quite an urgent crisis that we're going through at the moment. Plus, I live in an area that has water insecurity.
Hmm.
Anyway, like always has had water, even from me being a kid. Like it's not been great for water. So
Hmm.
we had extreme heat last week, and there were parts of the county that I live in that there was a burst water main because of years of, private companies running the water infrastructure and not investing in them. So then hundreds, if not thousands of houses around that area were without actual water during
Hmm.
incredibly high temperatures. I think it got up to like 37 last week.
Okay, and so I just want to because we some countries use Fahrenheit, so when you
I think
say
we're Celsius.
right, yeah, Celsius. So when you say 22 and then 37, it's Celsius. That's an interesting fact to learn that the houses in you said southeast or northeast
Southeast I am, but it's a
England.
British thing is that we've
Yeah,
used these bricks that are like I think they like a lot of our buildings are built with bricks that they use for like Italian pizza ovens to like hold the heat in the pizza oven. So
right.
like we're literally cooking in our and in fact on Friday I thought I was cooking in my house. So I asked I learned about this thing called wet bulb, which is when the temperature and the humidity gets so high that your organs start to fail. My house was 1.5 degrees off of the wet bulb
Oh,
temperature.
wow. Okay, cool. All right. So it is interesting then. So based on your geographic location in England, um, what are some of the racism that you've observed in your community, or just
Right.
in it? Well, I know you can't. We don't want you to speak all of England for now, but just within your neck of the woods, what's going on in there for you to wanting to start this organization, anti-racist moms?
So I've been a youth worker for nearly 30 years and things started to get better like in this country like probably early 2000s to like 2010, maybe 2011, 2012, things were
Hmm.
like getting better, things were getting more inclusive. And then there was the whole Brexit, like which was basically a xenophobic campaign.
Hmm.
And then I have a mixed heritage daughter, and then like a couple of years ago, she got started kids that she'd grown up with, little white boys, started calling her the N-word, and their parent like being like, why? What's the problem? Why are you criticizing my kids for
Yeah.
calling your daughter that? And it led me to like blow up my whole friendship group in this town because I wouldn't tolerate my daughter being spoken to like that. And I had people, actually, the operations director of a charity, an arts, young person's arts charity, tell
Mhm.
me that I was drawing attention to my daughter's skin color and traumatizing her by challenging people for using that language. Um, and made me realize that white people are the bloody problem. Like we have to unlearn. Like we're holding up and then I started going deeper. Like I'd been, I suppose, like an I'm not racist person before, like not proactively anti-racist. Like, and yeah, I just read loads of books, watched loads of Jane Elliott lectures and videos, and started to really dig deep into like what is whiteness? Whiteness is what holds up the hierarchy of humans, and it's
Mhm.
like all the time we're consumed by this fakeness of whiteness, which isn't actually real. We're
Okay.
harming people when we're stopping ourselves from unifying against the rot at the top. And they're the biggest threat to all working class humans. Like that's why we've got extreme heat right now, because of the rot at the top. Fossil fuel industry, bombing of places all around the world, stupid SpaceX, like AI data centers eating up all our water, like all of these things.
All
It's
right.
just
So you it sounds like some of the you notice this increase racism around Brexit. Can you remind us when Brexit? What I know it was a process.
10 years ago.
So, and I know that the news media has been reporting that it has not been successful, because if
Terrible.
anything, it has affected the economy, but now it's even more so affecting community interrelationships. And so, all this time, at what age then, if you don't mind sharing, that your daughter, at the time she was when she started experiencing these kind of maybe subtle attacks on her?
Well, we were never like really actually a properly not racist country. Like my daughter at nursery, so she was like three, one
Okay.
like for a period of weeks, she would scratch her arms, and I would be like, "Why are you scratching your arms?" My beautiful little baby, and she'd be like, "I want to be pink like you,"
Oh no.
and
Wow.
I. Yeah, and I ended up, the nursery wouldn't take me seriously for ages that she was being bullied. And I ended up having her like crying in the nursery saying, I'm not going to be able to go to work and send my daughter to this nursery. There's a
Yeah.
problem here. And it was the kids that she called her friends that were referring to her as poo-poo skin. So they took them to the toilet and explained that poo goes down the
Oh,
toilet. And like, it was all kind of like brushed under the carpet after that. And I was seen as the problem for like I was then not invited. Well, she wasn't invited to birthday parties
the
because I
party.
made people
Yeah.
uncomfortable and things, and like trips to the farm and things. People would be like, not, yeah, not include us.
So it started at an early age, but then that's,
It's definitely magnified.
magnified
And
to,
then like with these two boys, so that was like 20, maybe 24. So she would have been like 11
Mhm,
and or 10 maybe.
mhm.
Um, like that's when it really for me became really apparent that the programming of society was rotting people's brains. Like I don't know if you've seen my content, I call it athlete's foot of the brain because it's like you don't have to be a racist, just like you don't have to have an athlete's foot. You can go to a pharmacy and get treatment for athlete's foot, this fungal infection. You can unlearn and get treatment for the athlete's foot of the brain. And yeah, it became like really, and particularly when these kids were like, Auntie Nikki, I've seen it on
Mhm.
YouTube. I've got permission. I can use that word. Like, it doesn't
Oh,
matter.
wow. All right. So before you had your daughter, though, we want to see, I mean, some of what you may have learned and what you may have to unlearn or even increase your knowledge on. Did you have to think about racism? Did you think about it before having
Oh,
a
I
child?
definitely thought about it before because I'd worked. So I'd worked
In
as a
what
youth worker.
context? Okay.
So I'd been working at one point, I was running the London region of a charity, and I was working with all 33 London boroughs, and I did a supported young black men. It was a participation charity about young people having
Okay.
their voice heard to
Mm-hmm.
decision makers. So I did at one point have this relationship with the Metropolitan Police, and a particular directorate inside of it was they were called the Diversity and Citizen Focus Directorate, and I did a lot of work with young black teenagers from London
Mm-hmm.
um, to like try and reduce the numbers of inappropriate stops and searches. And one of the things that we created, or the young people created as part of that, was like it was a standard operating procedure for like engaging with young people in the community that the police were supposed to follow, which the
Mm-hmm.
young people came up with, which the acronym was SMART. So smile, manners, attitude, respect, talk, and tolerance,
Okay.
when the police, like for the police to have in mind when they were engaging with them. And
Mm-hmm.
as part of that, we also did like a project on considering the implications of carrying a weapon. And we made a film about that with educational resources that young
Mm-hmm.
people completely like directed and everything, and were involved in the whole process. And we did some training of police officers, and we held an event at a museum. I think it was the Museum of London on that. So I was, and I actually went to Australia after leaving working for the UK Youth Parliament and that charity, and went to so-called Australia, and I ended up like finding Australia to be more racist than London, and
Mm-hmm.
finding it really quite a shock to get to Australia and see how, particularly how First Nations people
We're
are
treated.
treated.
Yeah.
And I ended up, that's where my like real like start of decolonization really took place, actually. It was First Nations people that really helped me to like remove my colonial blinkers, and really give me, yeah, different perspective. Because I'd thought, oh, I've done all this anti-racism work in London, and then was shocked in like Sydney when I first arrived, and then ended up in Larrakia country.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, Aboriginal people were like, yeah, you need to go deeper. Like, you still got your colonial
So
blinkers.
yeah, so would you say that, okay, so that's the, we would say the somewhat of immersion and experience in not just taking a class, but actually working with people of diverse and states and experiences, and not just within one culture, but now you have a comparative culture. You go across Australia and you're like, wait a minute, it's even worse. But were you introduced to any perspective in, say, secondary education, or what was your schooling like as it relates to, talking about racism,
We
understanding
don't get taught anything about
history of
British history is a lie.
colonialization? Nothing.
We don't even get taught about colonialism. Like, it's hidden. It's like brushed under the carpet. It's like we're
You're
taught.
talking secondary education.
Yeah, like I learned about in history in secondary school, like an Irish uprising, like Bloody Sunday, but from obviously the perspective of the oppressor.
Okay.
And I learned like about Henry VIII's wives, um, Queen Victoria, like, but not anything actually to do with like the
Slavery.
reality. Yeah, no, it's like touched. Oh, we ended slavery. That's what you're taught
Wow.
briefly for 10
Okay.
seconds.
Okay. So with this experience now, and you're moving through different spaces, now that you're seeing, wait a minute, now it's personally impacting me, you, with your child. Tell me some of the steps that you actually started taking to create this anti-racist initiative.
So, first of all, I like read a whole load of different books that I hadn't already read, because I was always like a reader and a bit of an odd person, I
Yeah.
suppose, compared to my community. Because also always been involved with like since 14 with like activism and community work.
Hmm.
So been like yeah, doing the stuff. So I had quite a good, I suppose, in theoretical knowledge,
Okay.
intellectualized
Hmm.
knowledge of
Yeah.
things. So that incident with my daughter and those boys like led me to go like, right, I need to read. So I read like Nice Racism, I think it's called, and a couple of books by that same author.
Hmm.
I listened to some audio books. I read Dark Emu. I definitely had that. And what, yeah, like a heap of YouTube videos, mainly Jane Elliott and whatever you kind of get after Jane Elliott. Oh, Akala's Natives was really a useful British history perspective.
Hmm.
Um, and then I just really started the Instagram account as me, and then the TikTok a bit later as me trying to share the fact that I was on this unlearning journey.
Right.
Um, and I always, when I started it as anti-racist mums because I haven't really got much faith in white men. Like I've seen white men, you know, I haven't for years. I've thought white men are the root of all evil, and I haven't. And I think we have enough history to understand, to see in terms of pattern recognition that they're all mediocre white men. Like every single structure in society is crumbling. Why? Because it's under patriarchy, because it's led by a white man, because they're not fit for purpose. They're like category Z in a factory that needs to be put in the reject bin. And I've never like, and I've just never had. I've worked in so many different charities with so many
Hmm.
different people. It's always women do the burden of everything. So anti-racist mums was about like if we're going to eliminate racism, it's not going to be the bloody men, is it? It's going to be the mums raising our children to be
Hmm.
inclusive, to be anti-racist, to be in school challenging the narrative. We're working everywhere. Like we've got to go and hold those useless men accountable in the offices that we work, or the councils, or the charities, wherever we work, the schools, challenge everything. Um, and be better at, you know, advocating and elevating the voices of people from global majority backgrounds. So that's why it always started as anti-racist mums, because it was never, it was about me showing that if I can be accountable for my unlearning
Hmm.
and try and like break our conditioned silence of like biting our tongues and tolerating nonsense because of the, you know, keep the peace nonsense, then other women can do it too and like don't accept this
Perfect. Yeah.
nonsense. Um, and I started off, I suppose I like started off, I'd write out my scripts and I'd record my scripts and I probably was a lot more wooden than I am now. And then like I think my account popped off because one day after Aqua earlier this year, actually, I do an Aquafit class with these what I call the geriatric Brexit xenophobes that just
Hmm.
believe the lies. And I'd had this conversation. So there'd been that incident where that website had been exposed for like the Rape Academy.
Hmm.
And I'd seen that during the week. And then also, oh, there'd been some other report about how everyone was so much poorer because of Brexit and how it had like financially crippled this country. And I'd gone to this aqua class, and I'd always at aqua, like when we do the punching and things, I'm always like, come on, fascism's on the rise, let's punch a fascist in the face, like get your anger out. And it's all old ladies, all at least 20 years older than me. And they all think I'm like mad and tut and tut and tut. And in this particular class, I'd said something in the change rooms, I think, to someone about um about how disgusting men are, the most white men are the most violent, most prioritized and privileged demographic on the planet. Every single one of them is a threat to women. And another old lady had come out the changing room and said, like, not speaking to me, but said to the person I was speaking to, oh, don't listen to her. She's a conspiracy theorist. You know, I've got a husband, I've got a son. It's not all men. So then I launched into my, like, about this rape academy and how many millions of men have been found on it. And, like, the fact that I have a petition on the Parliament website for an amendment to the Firearms Act for women to be able to access, because we can't access firearms in this country, and even pepper spray is considered a firearm.
Women are not allowed to carry firearms.
Yeah, no, yeah, like only like farmers if, and you have to get a special license. But yeah,
Oh,
so I
okay.
earlier this year created an amendment after being sexually assaulted. I create with a group of women on TikTok. I
Yeah.
created a petition on the Parliament website for an amendment to the Firearms Act
Hmm.
so that women can carry fingerprint operated tasers so that we can defend ourselves from these disgusting, vile human beings that obviously don't understand, no, or even like a look like they are uninvited.
Hmm.
And so I said this in the changing rooms, and this old lady, she's like, "How dare you? You'd be nothing without men. Like men are required, men are so." And I just ranting at me. I was like, "You're the muppet that thinks that Brexit was a good idea. Like you don't know the difference between facts and opinion." And you know, she said, "That's your opinion that Brexit was a bad idea." I was like, "No, the facts are that it was a terrible idea." And like got changed everything and left the leisure centre and then filmed this video walking home. I was so angry, but I hadn't done really any off the cuff
Hmm.
videos until that point. But yeah, I was like I think I'd already started calling white women the buffer class because we just hold these idiots in position at the pinnacle of the hierarchy of humans. But that video was really like, yeah, I still get people commenting on it and liking it and sharing it,
Went
because I
viral.
was just raging. Yeah, but I didn't
Mhm.
expect that. I was just like wet and carrying my aqua stuff home with my cardigan on, just pissed off.
Good. So, first of all, this when you say within your community, can you just, without necessarily stating the name of the community per se, describe the demographics in that community? And is it considered to be a close-knit community in a sense, but then because of what is happening, people are pulling apart, or just describe it in that context.
I was born in this town and then I left and then I come back. But like, so as a, it is a very white part of the country. Like, I think the county is like 78% white.
Okay.
This part of the country has always had what I would describe as a siege mentality because we're between London and the coast.
Mm-hmm.
We are, so I grew up in a village as a child in the summer in a village next to a fruit farm
Mm-hmm.
and or with a fruit farm in the village. And as a child, I was told it from probably March till about October time every year, any problem in the village is a picker. And a picker is somebody that is international that's come to harvest the fruit. So as a
Right.
child, any burglary in the village, and you know, this is a little village where I used to try and get away with like cycling in the 80s without wearing my cycle helmet. Like I'd go somewhere with my cycle helmet, stuff it
Mm-hmm.
under a bush, and then I'd carry on. And I'd get home later that day with my cycle helmet back on. But some numerous people will have notified via the landline one of my parents that I've been out riding my bike without my cycle helmet on. So it's kind of like the busybody, you know,
Yeah.
the typical
Okay.
Karen, white women, keep policing everybody and buffer class women. But so at one point I got a dog. Me and my sister ended up with dogs like puppies, and I used to walk that dog over the front, and I just was like, these people can't be that scary. Like they look like normal people to me. I started talking to them. So it became a thing, and I was like ostracized from my family. They hated it. Like I would go when the pickers came over. I'd look forward to it. I'd love it. The picking season started. I'd go over the farm. I'd chat to all these people. There were about 30 caravans with all these people from all over the world. So I already, like as a child, I had an idea of what community was.
Ah.
Whereas
Mm-hmm.
I have a different lived experience to the majority of people in this area. So then as a teenager, I started getting involved with like the local town youth council and the county youth council and setting up
Mm-hmm.
this national organisation called the UK Youth Parliament, which I actually ended up being, I was the first young person in the country
Mm-hmm.
involved with at 14, 15, 1997, trying to get the UK Youth Parliament off the ground. And it took so many years of campaigning for that, which meant I built community because I needed young people. I needed
Yeah.
evidence that
Yeah.
young people wanted a UK Youth Parliament. So I did a lot of so for me, my experience of the town as a teenager was building community. Like I did birthday events for my birthday that weren't really for my birthday. Like I'd tell this nightclub that I wanted a birthday party there, and it was one of those you can have the space for free as long as people buy drinks on the bar. But I would do these events not for my actual birthday, but to raise awareness of this campaign called Peace One Day that I was involved with. And I'd have the projector with the Peace One Day logo projected on the wall, and I'd talk about why we needed world peace and, how good it would be to have world peace. So I was already a very,
Yeah.
odd person, I suppose, for my town.
You-
Um,
You're using the word hard a lot to describe, but you're so far from that. Nikki, you are a born humanitarian. You have the inherent traits, it seems, of an activist, an advocate. Because through your eyes, you're walking me through the journey of your childhood and how you started actually looking differently at the world. Isn't that interesting? And looking back at it, and here you are, decades later, still fighting the fight, still
yeah,
fighting the fight. And now the fight hit closer to home because now your child is an example of sharing both worlds, right? The
yeah,
world of the oppressed and the world of the privileged, in quotes. And you have to find yourself between that to say, stop on both hands. We have to see. Isn't that one? It's a wonderful experience, but I know it's hard work, isn't it?
yeah, yeah, definitely hard work.
All right.
Hasn't
So
always been easy.
I can imagine the pushback that you've received because you said that um, you have to change your friend groups.
Yeah,
What's that been
yeah.
like for you?
Well, my daughter's my life. I'd do anything for my daughter. And when they couldn't deal with me wanting her to be respected as a human being, like if there's no like grey area with this, it's
Yeah.
non-negotiable. So yeah, like I was referring to them as the flying monkeys at one point, like, coming round to be like, do you need mental health support? Do you need, like we were a bit worried about you and your mental health because like you've become an extremist anti-racist, and it's like, no, I'm not an extremist anti-racist. But they did like I was doing some training for trustees of this community arts centre where the operations manager
Mhm.
spoke to me, and there was a couple of points during this safeguarding training that I was delivering. Um, FGM is a mandatory part of UK safeguarding training to inform all staff of the risk to young people of FGM and the fact that it's illegal in this country and that it needs to be escalated. So
Mhm.
I started talking about that during this training, and then one of the old trustees was like, "This is a Christian country. We shouldn't be talking about this. They shouldn't be here if that's going to happen to them. Stand up, everybody, if you think this is a Christian country and you agree with me. I don't think we should have to listen to this." And I was like, I'm literally delivering the training for you. That is a mandatory requirement for charities supporting young people in this country. And it's like, no, we're not having to put up with this. And it's like, you can't even have a conversation with these people. Like, you literally cannot have a conversation because they get so angry
Mhm.
that you're challenging them on a bit of legislation that is a legal requirement for the charity to have.
If you don't mind, can you tell us what you said FGM? What?
Female genital mutilation.
Okay, I wanted to make okay. So you're training them on that so that so does this group that you're training well tell us who you're training, by the way.
So I'm training trustees. So they're like people that are like the volunteers that are like legally and financially responsible for a charity's operations. So they're like the committee.
Hmm.
And I'm training them in just basic safeguarding, like an overview of
Okay.
what are your requirements as a charity when
Mhm.
it comes to safeguarding children and young people in this country, when you're working with them, when you're getting funding for them.
Is there, in terms of this particular issue, which is coming out of different countries from Africa and say Asia, coming to the US, do you find members of that um, ethnic population within your area, why the training was mandatory or
Well, it's mandatory for all organizations across the UK.
church? Okay.
It's not by
Based on
area by area.
it does based on the
But
population. Okay.
there were young people
Hmm.
using that youth organization, young women that could have been at risk anyway. So
Hmm.
it, regardless of, yeah, like it's not an opt out. You can't opt
Hmm.
out of it. It's like the benchmark of like every organization has to have it. Um, or at least know where to get more information on it, at least,
Hmm.
cover it slightly. But there was a dynamic of some of the young people using that building could have been at risk of it,
Hmm.
or met the demographic at risk for it.
Interesting. That is very interesting. And the fact that you are in these spaces because you're from the ground level up, and it seems as if you're, do we call it a movement then? Is that a safe word for you? Your anti-racist movement, it's called anti-racist moms, but it's a movement because
Yeah.
you're trying to change, you're trying to transform. But at the same time, you're working individually with people, whether or not you're being paid for it, but you're also working at the organizational and the legislative level because you mentioned that you put in a proposal at the parliamentary level, right? So you're at
Oh yeah,
all
currently, yeah,
three,
that petition.
yeah, all
Well,
three levels you're doing this type of work. Now, you describe the community. Who are the allies with you on this from your community or possibly outside of your community?
my anti-racist mums, I haven't got any local people involved in anti-racist mums. My online anti-racist mums community is mainly, yeah, white women from across the UK who are frustrated with the situation and want to have the confidence to, when it gets tough, when it gets lonely at work, when you're not being validated because you're that pain in the ass that in every team meeting that you go in, you point out that, you're working in a school and you point out that the school has still got a racist hair policy, or you're pointing out in your
Wow.
workplace that the employer is like discriminating against people, the HR department are not even shortlisting people with names that don't sound, they're the women that are a part of my anti-racist mums that have just like had enough, and have had enough of feeling like they are the problem because they're trying to disrupt the narrative. And that's what the Stay Accountable membership, like the anti-racist mums membership, is. That's what I hold space for, is like
Yes.
keeping us on track, keeping us
Hmm.
knowing that actually we need to keep doing this work. We need to keep modeling to other people that we're doing this work, because us doing it brings other people along. But also I have like a reflective session once a month, which is where we come together and we think back of a situation that we've been in where we didn't like weren't our best version of ourselves, where we could have shown up differently, where if we encounter that situation in the future, we've kind of like pre-programmed ourselves to disrupt better. Maybe that means like not screaming at a racist and going and sitting down and having a cup of tea to try and like debunk some of their nonsense that they're talking about. There's lots of different things come up. A lot of it is for the women in my movement that come to those sessions. It it's usually dealing with like elderly relatives or cousins or aunts or uncles, people that they don't see frequently
Mhm.
enough that they see at like funerals and weddings, but they've been at something, they've encountered this person that technically they're related to, and they really just want to punch the prick in the face, but they know that that's not going to help the conversation. And it's like, how do we chip away at them? So sometimes I do these creating connection sessions, which are about like literally mapping the incoherence that people
Yes.
say and working out where we can, like, where that individual can go back and with that written bit of paper of the incoherent nonsense that they've spouted, to go back and go, right, this is scientifically illiterate, this is historically illiterate, this is theologically illiterate, this is economically illiterate, this is emotionally illiterate, and this is just totally morally illiterate. And have like try and have those conversations.
That's amazing. So here's what I'm hearing from you. You're not just holding others accountable, you're holding yourself accountable as well. Because yes, this, there's a lot of anger that can come from this. that anger can also transfer, and it's going like this both ways. The pendulum is switching, shifting in both ways. So what you're doing, as you said, with this group of moms is actually engaging in reflection, right?
Yeah.
What can we do better? I mean, I get really pissed and I said all the F word that I could possibly said. How can we articulate what we really mean in a different way? Because as you said, because if you want to go, say for example, you never know, you could be invited to Parliament if you have not yet to talk, and you want to be able to be as polished as they expect, right? In order to deliver this beautiful transformative ideas that you have. So it's a good way of being accountable. And the group of women are also relying on you to guide them. So that's really a lot to find the language, Nikki, to say, this is what we should do, and then lead by example. How it is good work. The blessings are coming, but it's also, again, I'm still emphasizing how much is on your shoulder with this work that you're doing.
Yeah, so in the group space, so whilst I am a guide, I will acknowledge that, but I also so a lot of the women that are involved in my network or my movement would say that it's a very different experience to other groups that they've been to. So I've
Mhm.
had people leave other like anti-racist groups and join my network because those anti-racist groups often replicate the same like hierarchy as we're
Ah,
trying to disrupt.
yes.
So you would have heard, I believe that the axes of evil, and science tells us this, are capitalism, social science, capitalism, patriarchy, and white narcissism. They interlock together
Yeah.
to create the hierarchy of humans. That is replicated across all of society in the ways that workplaces operate, the ways that community groups operate. So we can't disrupt the axis of evil by keep replicating that system when we're trying to learn and grow. So my spaces, whilst they're guided, because they will look to me first to like reflect on my impact for the month and where I want to have changed something, or ask me questions because I might be a little bit further along in my unlearning journey than
Yes.
they
Yes.
are. It's very collaborative, and it everyone supports each other with ideas. Like, so when we're going through like incoherent conversations that we're trying to pull apart to support
Mhm.
someone, to challenge someone, everyone will get involved, everyone will share ideas, and it is a very collaborative process.
Mhm.
And we try to be like support people to have joy in that moment and joy in the like using their strengths. So if we know somebody in the group has, I don't know, you need something researched really well, you might ask another one of the other women in the group because they just love like going down rabbit holes and pulling things apart.
Right.
And then that person will come and share that information with all of us so we can all learn together, and we try and celebrate at the end of each session what we enjoyed, what we learned, what we're moving away with, and what our commitment is.
Great. Okay, can you tell me then, is your organization, because the fact that you're going in and training, charity organizations then with these
Well,
mandated.
that was like right up, that was around the time that I blew up my life, that I was with challenging the people involved with that charity. So I haven't, because also during that safeguarding training, at the back of the room, the operations manager threw a black pen on the floor whilst this altercation about FGM is going on, and
Right.
she shouted, "I suppose Nikki's going to get upset that I've thrown a black pen on the
Oh
floor."
my goodness.
And I was like, yeah, this is really not the organization for me to
Oh,
continue to
so you
support
moved
with.
on. You moved on.
Yeah, from that, yeah.
So I was going to come to that question as well about, because you mentioned that in the work environment, kind of disrupting these type of stereotypes or what appears, they're creating to be normal around these kind of behavior. Do you find moms reporting or people responding to your TikTok, oh, I lost my job because I tried to stand up for this and or I have to leave my job? Do you have those type of stories and how many of those stories?
I get a lot of that from global majority women contact me, well, to help them track um like the workplace harassment, the microaggressions, the micro
Yes.
invalidations. So I do a lot of like pro bono advice on how to track and how to use the Equalities Act and an organization called ACAS
Hmm.
to make sure that you're protected whilst you're ensuring that your rights are being upheld. From my anti-racist mums movement, no, I think I'm the one that like had the most issues with charities because I upset some white men at a charity that I was working part-time at earlier this year, in that I was working for a national allergy charity to support young people to have their voices heard on allergies and intolerances.
Hmm.
And I raised that one of the barriers that young people from global majority backgrounds during a presentation on the barriers to managing and living with allergies and intolerances, that the
Hmm.
young people from global majority backgrounds face significant barriers in managing their allergies and intolerances due to the biological factors associated with racial battle fatigue and the management of allergies and intolerances in a white supremacist society, which, unbeknownst to me at the time, apparently was very triggering for the white directors because the following week I got called in for a disciplinary investigation into being racist towards white men, creating a hostile working environment, and bullying and harassing white men.
That those were their words. You're being
Yeah,
you
I
as
was found to be racist towards white men. The
wow.
investigation
And they
concluded.
actually said that to you
Yeah, I have that in a report.
in a report. So
Yeah. So
you
I
are
left
you are
because,
you're disrupting. You are disrupting, you're debunking, and um, these are the experiences of people in your position that decide that they are. And you said you listen to Jane Elliott, and of course she will share with you some of those things that people have gone through because based on all the training that she have conducted over the years. How I'm gonna ask you though, I really want to know how did that what those experiences with you having to move on from these different jobs, knowing that you do need income to take care of yourself, to take care of your child, your family. Um, what was going on in your head? I mean, was it
well,
the point where all of this now start coming?
that's why. So I've got the membership and I don't really talk about it because I'm a bit ashamed. I've got a book on Amazon on the Kindle direct print. I don't publicize it at all,
Why
but
are
it's a
you
workbook.
ashamed of
Because
your book?
Amazon is like a terrible company. So but I put it on there because somebody said to me, you need to make your work accessible for people that don't want to
What's the
buy
name of the
digital.
book? Tell us. Well,
It's
plug it here.
It's called the White Noise Decoder, and it's
Oh.
unpacking where we get certain beliefs from, like getting us to just think internally, like when did like when did you first like co consider the idea that the people causing problems in your community were like from global majority backgrounds? Where was that seed planted? Like, have a think. Can you think back to the narratives that you've been told? And like, yeah, it's like a workbook with questions throughout it and lots of space for writing. And people that have brought it have then joined the membership actually. But I always feel like, oh, I can't promote it because it's Amazon.
Okay, okay. But yeah, put it this way. The fact that you recognize what is happening, we know that we're functioning in an economy that is post-colonial, post well, it's not still capitalistic. So we have no choice. See, we're using platforms that are created. It is being used to create success, but we know that it also creates a lot of oppression for other people as well. So as long as we're doing it for the right reason, I think we can remove that guilt, right? Right, Nikki?
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
So the book, I'm looking at it now, the White Noise Decoder, a practical workbook for white people ready to practice accountability. What a beautiful name for a book. And here the blurb is most white people don't think of themselves as racist, and that belief is exactly where harm survives. The White Noise Code is a grounded, accessible workbook for white parents, carers, educators, and professionals who want to unlearn racism beyond good intentions and start taking responsibility in daily life. You give a lot here just for the book. Just reading this is so much. But how many have people bought any of the book yet, if you don't mind sharing?
Yeah,
Is
I've had a few.
it
I get like not many, maybe like probably 6 people a month
and
buy it, but they're
it's five
finding it
star.
themselves.
And it's 5 star on there. Did you
Oh,
see that?
cool. No, I haven't seen that because I don't even look. I don't even look.
It's,
I can't
it
even. I
says
think I started selling it at the new
great,
year, and
great book. I had plenty of room to reflect and write. I needed that space. So thank you. I learned a lot of things gently about myself and had previously not thought about. I recommend anyone who wants a gentle guidance in decoding the white noise. Somebody wrote
oh,
that.
yeah.
So it's there. So, all right, tell me at least one or two steps or strategies in your book that just
So one of the strategies, and I still use this in meetings, like particularly if I'm doing work with where I'm in like a predominantly global majority situation, um, because our we're white people are programmed to like react, like deny, dismiss, defend, but it's like a bodily reaction.
yes.
So I might be in a situation where there's things that my body want to react to, and I like breathe and I ask myself, is this your conditioned response? Or is this a logical, like, are you responding with the knowledge in your head? Like, and I just try to slow myself down. And usually that like I want to respond, when I ask myself that question, I'm like, oh, I can just listen. What I was going to say was a whole heap of nonsense. Like, just listen. And I end up being a lot quieter in those spaces because I'm learning so much and I'm hearing so much and my knowledge is growing that actually I don't need my voice to be heard. I'm learning. I'm not adding any value to that conversation by getting involved.
Interesting. So breathe, think
Breathe.
before
I
you
think that's
react.
one I teach. I do these accountability activation labs, and that is one of the main parts of the
Mm-hmm,
accountability activation labs that I do fortnightly on a Tuesday evening. For
mm-hmm,
members, get them included in their membership, but they also I do them as standalone. Anyone can book on, and a large bulk of the session is
mm-hmm.
remembering to breathe, like breathe, because we can't regulate our nervous systems. We get trapped in flight or fight as soon
Yes.
as the topic of race, power comes up, colonialism, it's like straight away.
Mm-hmm.
So breathe, keep breathing. Like,
Yes. You
don't
have to
react,
have that
breathe.
conscious awareness before you just simply react. Because again, that reaction may just seem, people always say, it's my truth, speaking my truth, not realizing that maybe this is not the time to speak that, feeling because you're simply just reacting on those emotions. So you're right. What's another one that you could share from if you can remember from the
From
book?
that book, I can't remember. I made that, like, that was like my little project between Christmas and New Year was to make that book and get it done and put it up and then forget about it. And that's literally
Right.
was like, that was like, ADHD, you need a project. Because I
Right.
don't really celebrate Christmas. I don't believe, I call it the Festival of Gluttony and Greed. I don't really believe in it because of capitalism. So it's like I need something else to do to distract me from the
And you did,
gluttony and greed.
and it was productive, clearly, because you got it done, and it's out there somewhere. All right. So let me ask you this though: do you plan to go back into corporate work? Well, any organizational type of
I don't think they could handle me as a PA, like a in contracted member of staff. I want to do like now I just want to focus on anti-racist mums
Mhm,
and I want to go into businesses and disrupt. I want them to pay for me to go
mhm,
in and teach their white staff how to be less racist, how to start their unlearning journey, and
mhm.
then they can join my membership because the reason that I have the membership is because it's ongoing work. Every day we're being bombarded
Yes.
with stuff that maintains our conditioning. And even when we think that we're on the unlearning journey, some other bit of media or propaganda
Comes
triggers
along.
us
Yes.
to to still be upholding the axis of evil. So we've got to stay, and that's why I've got the membership is like a commitment to ourselves to
Hmm.
staying accountable and keeping on track and keep unlearning and not getting caught up in the nonsense of whiteness that is like requires us to like spin like bloody spinning tops and believe in nonsense.
So with your anti-racist moms, is this the actual are you doing business as anti-racist moms or is
Yeah,
this
people can book me. So people can book me. I have a schools program. No school's been brave enough for me to book me. I did contact
good?
a whole load of schools and was like, I've seen you're in the paper because you've like got a racism problem. Why don't you get me to come in and instead of, you know, banning like global majority people from going to school because your teachers are racist, let
Hmm.
me teach the teachers, but it didn't go down so well. White fragility is very real, um, as you know, as you know. So, yeah, I've got a schools program. I've got like digital downloads on my website. So I've got a game as part of like my family resources that's called Stereotype Bingo, so that
Hmm.
people can watch TV and see how they're being programmed. So not
And
just through the news.
you created all of that.
Yeah, I created Stereotype Bingo. I do a monthly radio show, and during the radio show, I was like moaning one month about how like I can't watch TV because I literally spot the programming, and then I joked that I should make a game called Stereotype Bingo. And on the train coming back, I was on Canva making Stereotype Bingo because I was like, I need to make this, you know, ADHD. It's like I've got to make this, and
I
so that's
like
as a
it.
digital download.
So you have a package then, all like ready-made packages for schools, for organizations, for, and you can customize any kind of delivery for any needs that are out there. And so
Yeah.
and you willing to travel overseas as well, because I mean, this is needed anywhere, everywhere, right?
Yeah, I'll go anywhere. I'm not bound to this country at all.
So
I
you
would.
are a registered organization in
I'm a sole trader. That's what I'm
sole
registered
trader.
as.
Okay. That's how it is. All right. So if people want to find you, it's easy because, as I said, you're all over the social media.
Yeah, my link tree in my Instagram has got all the links and everything that anyone needs to get in touch with me. And I've yeah, like my link tree has like literally everything in my link in bio. Even my petition for an amendment to the Firearms Act is in there. Yeah, and my power hours, which are for global majority people, which I like quite often waiver the fee if people can't afford it, but they have to support people with safety planning as like the abuse in our communities
Hmm.
grows, and like when parents are struggling to get schools to take their complaints seriously, so that I can, parents can get support with how to what legislation to use to argue for their children's rights and things like that.
Yeah. So you're an advocate in so many ways. So I know I booked you for about 3 minutes, but this is so good. I mean, for about an hour, and we only have 3 minutes to go. And this is really good. Let me ask you this. Wrapping, unless you have a few more minutes, but we can end it. When you say that, people are coming on, joining the membership, then, for example, is this a paid membership or just, anyone,
Yeah, it
anyone?
is paid, but it's not like so to encourage people to join the membership's like £15 a month. But if you really can't afford that commitment, that investment in yourself and ultimately in your community of £15 a month, which is like free coffees over a month, like I will support people who are on really low
Just
incomes.
want to
And
be
then
part of it. Yeah.
yeah, and then there's I do the workshops. Some of the workshops that are available in the membership are done as standalone workshops, and they're £27 per session because
Hmm.
the idea is it's to encourage you to not just book a standalone session, but to join the membership and commit to that longer term because you can join one workshop, but that's
Hmm.
that's like a grain of sand in a beach. Like it's an ongoing, it's never going to end all the time that axis of evil exists. Like we're not doing enough, are we? Like right, like all you know.
Yes. It seems as if you realize that as you said, when you think that you've learned everything, then something new pops up. So the work is never ending. You see that. So you're walking in the shoes of someone who experiences racism on say because they can't change the color of their skin. It's like think about the mind of your child that says, I'm scratching my skin so I can see the pink, knowing that it's never gonna. I'm sure that breaks.
That was so like, oh my God, that was so
That broke
heartbreaking for
your heart.
me. Like, yeah, just was, and you can like, I went into that nursery crying, and they thought like, do you need mental health? Like, not like this shouldn't be happening to your daughter.
Yes, yeah.
Like,
Amazing. So, what is one word that you or one statement that you want to make to those in well, globally, anybody who can see this to say how to be anti-racist? There's so many, I'm
gosh,
sure.
yeah, there are so many, but why do you believe in whiteness? What has whiteness stolen from you? What? Because whiteness isn't real. Whiteness stole our cultures, our traditions, our spirituality, stole our land, stole each English community's land to enable capitalism, to enable the rot at the top. Why are you protecting whiteness? Doesn't care about you.
Wow, that's an interesting question, and so many part of it to think, have someone think about that for a moment to understand the concept of that. And that even the concept itself is so elusive because it is entrenched in every institution, in every corner. Um, People of all walks have to deal with that. But so like the pickers that, came into your local community during those summer months and see they're going about their life. Do you realize that walking in the shoe of someone who experienced, do you see that we have to continue living despite despite the barriers? Do you see the difference?
Yeah,
So and so during those times when you had your local I'm going to call them the local internet service because they were picking up the phone. Those older in that early days of your life, they're picking up the phone and calling and saying, "Oh, Nikki is talking to these people," right? They were, doing a service, their Wi-Fi service for the community at the time. Um, that barrier, those continuous barriers you see in your neighbors, right? In those people who have turned their backs on you. Um, and here you are being empowered by that and say,
yeah.
you can't stop me now, right?
No, no one could ever stop me. My dad even gave away my dog one summer to stop me going over the farm. Like, he even gave away my dog, but didn't stop me. I just took my sister's, went with that dog. Like, honestly, once I'm like, it's like fuel. It's like the hate messages and the things that like the stupid white men send me. Like it's just like feel free. You're just fueling me. Every time you tell me I look like a man, or you can't tell if I'm a man or a woman, or I'm responsible for the decline of the UK, or whatever nonsense that they want to send me. It's like feel free. All you're doing is making me burn brighter. Like, keep fueling my fire. You keep proving a need for me.
Nikki Brooker, you are amazing. And there's so many people out there, whether or not they are visibly thanking you, they are thanking you. And that spirit of generosity that you are giving, because this is your time. There's so many other things you realize that you could have been doing with your life, and you're dedicating it to this. And it is so commendable. You don't need me to say it. You don't need anyone to say it. You know that. you know that that greatness is within you. And thank you for joining me. We appreciate it. All right.
Thank you for asking me. I'm so grateful. It's so lovely to have met you. Thank you for being interested in what I do and why I do it. I'm grateful for the opportunity. Thank you.
Grateful as well for you talking. Take care. Bye-bye.
And you. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.